Poa annua frequently fails in green surrounds during the late spring and early summer. Anthracnose is frequently associated with the death of Poa, but the stress conditions that lead to the anthracnose epidemics are difficult to prevent. One of the causes of stress is the fact that Poa annua wants to grow as an annual plant, but we push it to be a perennial grass. After a few years of growth, the Poa plant begins to fail for several reasons. This example is near a green that has been marked under repair. You can hear the sod cutter running in the background. Unfortunately, steps to prevent this type of damage have failed in many locations, and resodding every few years is a common practice. One of the reasons Poa annua fails after it invades for a few years is due to excessive stolon growth and lack of new root development near the crown of the plant in high-mown grass. Take a look at how the stolons have grown in this particular area where the damage has taken place. You can see when you pull the stolons out and separate them that you get very few roots that are anchored into the ground. They're just sort of barely penetrating the thatch layer. And you pull those apart, you see that there's 1, 2, 3, it looks like there's probably 4 shoots on that single stolon and just very little roots associated with the Poa plant. Another stressor for Poa is the salinity at the surface of the soil where Poa roots develop. The maximum tolerable soil salinity for Poa is 1.2 millisiemens on the Spectrum Field Scout EC meter. Salts are too high for healthy Poa growth in the area where the Poa is stressed. Well, let's take a sample back to the lab and see what we find and how the anthracnose would be diagnosed on the foliage. Now let's take a look at the anthracnose sample using a hand lens. And if you recall, you hold the hand lens up close to your eye when you're viewing the sample, and I'll do the same thing with the camera, just so you can take a look at it also. So put the lens right up next to your eye, and then move the sample in until you get it to focus. And that's about all you're going to see with anthracnose are those small dark spots, which they are the cereale and seedy of the anthracnose fungus. Okay, now we've taken the specimen over to a dissecting microscope, and we're going to carefully prepare a sample for inspection under the compound scope. So the first thing we need to do is to reach in here and pull that small area of tissue that has the cereale and seedy off the plant. Sometimes it takes a little practice to be able to do this with a fine pair of forceps, but it's not too bad. And it's important to get a good specimen to look at with the compound scope, otherwise you'd just be wasting your time. So there we go, ripping that off, and then we're going to transfer that onto a microscope slide with a drop of water, and just carefully place it in the center of the drop, and then we're going to put a cover slip on this piece of the specimen to make it small enough and flat enough that we can observe it with the compound microscope. And we're going to have to press the water, so we use the blunt end of the forceps we were just working with to kind of push that water droplet around the end of the specimen. You can see we can get the water to flow all the way around there, so we get a nice flat specimen completely immersed in the water. And then we'll take it to the scope and look at those black dots that I was pointing to there that are the seedy and the cereale of the anthracnose fungus. This is a compound microscope image of 3 spores of Colletotrichum cereale, and you can see there's a little light spot in the center of the spore. If we scan up the leaf piece that we put on the microscope, we'll see the acervulus, which is a structure that's pushed out of the cuticle of the plant by the fungus, and the seedy, those dark structures that are sticking out of the leaf that are characteristic for anthracnose caused by Colletotrichum cereale. So this is just another one of those stressors that's attacking plants, Poa, when they're in the surrounds, mowed high, been there for a few years, and it causes them to help them to decline. For more information on anthracnose, refer to the links that are associated with the video. Have a great day.